So, may gabi sa tanan no? So, ganina di ay kay naay gamay nga kuan. Naay gamay nga panghitabo. Kay wa di na ko maon ang microphone. So, nagiyaw-yaw ko nga walay nabati. That's why mabalik ko kuno karon. So, our topics or no, our topic for now lamang is the domain of a function and how to find and to notate the domain of a function. So, basic definition lamang. Domain of a function is a set that consists of all valid inputs for x for a given function of f of x. Now, for analogy lamang, we have here raw ingredients. We have a raw egg, a rice, bahaw ni siya, bahaw, and then chicken, in which kini is the x nato, x, tagsa sa x, and then sold ni sila sa domain. So na sila sa domain sa function. Na in which, kung ato na sila i-input sa ato function, in this case, a pot of hot oil, makagama siya or maka-output siya og y values na ang fried egg, fried rice, and fried chicken na mao na sila ang ato range. Okay? Gets ba? Ang kining ato i-input, ang ato isulod is maning domain, ato isulod sa function, ang mogawas ang range. Or the gets ba? Gets na lang ha? Kay so yeah, matay kon basic analogy definitions of domain, function, and range. So ang ato first round is ang domain lamang, in which may ato i-input sa function. And then wa tayong paligoy-ligoy pa, diretso na nato sa example. Example 1. Find the domain of f of x is equals to 2x minus 7. Now, I think familiar naman ani. 2x minus 7 is just a linear function. And then sa pagpangita sa domain natay kind of rule. Basta ang ato function is a polynomial function, pwede mo na ax squared plus bx plus c or ax cubed plus chu. So na automatic ana, especially pag yun if linear function, automatic yun ana ang ato domain is all real numbers, meaning from negative infinity to positive infinity. So yeah, for this function, simple function, na f of x is equals to 2x minus 7, automatic ato domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. Now, for basic on lang, wonder mo, parenthesis na, basta ang ato boundary is infinity. Parenthesis yun ang ato gamiton. Na ay lahi na ato magamit, but later on pa lang ito na ito magamit. And ma-discuss ito na ito. So yeah, for this function, mo na nga ito domain. Negative infinity to positive infinity. Example 1 na. Ay, hindi na tayo padugay-dugay. Diretso to sa example 2, in which lahi si na case. Awa, pag ina ko ma-iris lang yun. Okay. Example 2, find the domain of f of x is equals to 5 over x minus 2. Now, ini siya, this is a rational function. Rational function kay sin fraction, complex fraction na siya. Yeah, like that. Excuse me po. Now, to find the domain of this function is we have to consider the denominator, in which man is siya. Now, nasa may ato pa na, manong i-consider man nato. Magkwanta og restriction. Diba? Diba sa kwan is that any number sa denominator kay pwede except for 0. Since kung mag 5 over 0 na diha, indeterminate man na, di man na number, unsa man na, imaginary man na. Meaning, ang kining ato function x minus 2, no, not function, the expression sa denominator na x minus 2 must not be equal to 0. Mali ato i-take into consideration. Now, since na-establish naman na nato, pwede na nato solve. So, diri, x minus 2 must not be equal to 0. Let's transpose that. So, x must not be equal to 2. Wala ato restriction. Now, para ma-visualize, ato i-plot sa number. Plot sa number line. Let's plot that in here. Plot. This can be negative infinity and this is positive infinity. We have 2 here. Positive 2 na. Since ang ato restriction man lang is dili siya dapat equal to 2, meaning this 2 right here is an open circle, indicating that this is not part of the solution. Yeah, since not equal to 2 man lamang, so ang values less than 2 or and greater than 2, pwede siya na solution. Ano? Ano ay, magkuha itong value 3a. So less than 2. For example, 0. And we input 0 in here. 5 over 0 minus 2 is 5. So na, negative 2. Pwede mo na siya. And kunuhay, mag-input ang values greater than 2. Kunuhay 5. So 5 over 5 minus 2. 5 over 3. Pwede, magyapon na siya. So ato domain ani is tanan values except 2. Now to denote that, we just have to do this. Domain is asa tamang sugod, negative infinity. So parenthesis, negative infinity up to 2. And now, diri, since ang 2 is open circle, meaning dili si apil, not included sa solution na to, parenthesis ang ato gamiton. And then, ang kini siya mo pa lang ni, kini nga part. We still have this part. So, to that, to accommodate, to include this part, we have to have the union also of 2 to infinity. To infinity. Yeah, that's why. Ang meaning ng union, mura lang plus. Murang plus bali. Yun siya plus. So, meaning is, ang domain nato is the values from negative infinity kutob to diri not including 2, and mura sig and di plus or and, yeah. Yeah, and. Ano? Basta. And. Mura sig plus. And the values from 2 to infinity. 3 So, yeah. That is our domain for this function. The function of x, 5 over x minus 2. Gets ba? Basta gets ito. Diretso ta sa example 3. Diretso na ta. Okay, para di naman malangay. Now, rational function, yapon siya. And then, our expression in the denominator is a quadratic function. Now, basta yung rational expression, our only consideration is that the denominator must not be equal to 0. So, we can solve that now. X squared minus 9x plus 20 must not be equal to 0. Get? Now, for further simplification, atong i-factor ang quadratic function. Ito itong factor. Ito factor sa 20 na kung i-add, negative 9. So here, 20. Kasi pwede niya factor. pwede siya og 5 ug 4. Na kung i-add na to ang 5 ug 4, 9. Positive 9, but need na to negative 9. That's why, muna to sila negative. Negative 5 times negative 4, 20. Negative 5 plus 4, negative 5 plus negative 4, 9. So, we can have, so we can have our factored form, ani, as x minus 5 and x minus 4. And it was not equal to 0. So, para ma-zero ba yan eh? Para ma-zero ba yan eh? Kay either asa ni ang may mag-zero. So, meaning, ato tagsa-tagsaon, x minus 5 must not be equal to 0. Just because x must not be equal to 5. And then same sa pikas, x minus 4 must not be equal to 0. Just sa pikas, x must not be equal to 4. That is our restriction. Now, let's plot that in the number line here. There is a number line. Again, negative infinity to positive infinity. And then we have 4, and then we have 5. Okay. So, since ang iya mag-iyon is not equal to, ha? Meaning, open circle lang 4 ug 5. Kaya di siya included sa solution set. The domain nato is all the real values from negative infinity to positive infinity, excluding 4 and 5, 5 and 4. So, these are the values from here, negative infinity to 4, 4 to 5, and 5 to infinity. And pwede ta mag-test, but it's nonsense sila gid mag-test since maura man ang ato maura man ang restriction nato ang kining denominator. Maura man ni. In which nakuha naman nato ang restriction na dili dapat 4 o 5. So, any values excluding 4 and 5 is a solution. So, automatic ang domain na to ana is this. Domain is left side ang nita maguna, which is negative infinity to 4, and then 4 is not included, so parenthesis. Then we also have values, so mag-union, so 4 to 5. Napa na values diya, napa na 4.5, 4.6, ana, then apil kung we have na sila solution. And then, we have values as a union from 5 to infinity. So, that is our domain for this function. What is your domain? Okay? Now, proceed na tayo diretso sa example 4. Ano dugay-dugay? Ano gayon pa man? I love you. Yeah, rational function na siya, in which ang ato function denominator is x squared plus 4. And yeah, again, the denominator must not be equal to 0. So, let's solve that. X squared plus 4 must not be equal to 0. Just goes because x squared must not be equal to negative 4. However, as you can see, squared ang ato x. Now, do you think na ay values nga ato squared maka-output og negative 4? Diba wala? Since anything squared is always positive. Meaning, this restriction diri is just nonsense. Kaya wala mga values na manunaan. Real numbers. Real numbers na pwede input sa x squared na may negative number. That's why Yeah, kinesia is just a nonsense restriction. So, dili na rin natin i-take into consideration since nonsense man siya. And automatically, ang ato domain is all real numbers. From negative infinity to positive infinity. That is our domain. Okay? For the gets? For the gets. I am mura ko buang diri ni Yoyo. Then, yeah. Picture the example 5. For the example 5 is find the domain of f of x is equal to square root of x minus 4. Square root na siya. Now, this is a new case. For functions na square root of a polynomial, the only restriction we have to consider is that the expression inside the square root must be greater than or equal to 0. Now, why? It's because anything less than 0 is negative, and there is no negative square root of a there is no square root of a negative value. No square root of 1. I guess na ay na imaginary number, but it's dili man siya appeal yun nato dili wa mataan ang complex numbers. Kami to real numbers. That's why the square root of negative numbers is it's a no-no. Why this siya 0? Why this siya 0? Kay 0 na siya. That's why ato kung dili is greater than or equal to 0. Since established na nato na restriction, we can solve now. So x minus 4 must be greater than or equal to 0. Let's transpose that. X is greater than or equal to 4. That is our um sorry. That is our restriction. Now, if you plot that in the number line here, negative infinity, positive infinity, and 4, x is greater than 4 anay. Greater than 4, meaning apil ni. Ang kini ang solution. Greater than and equal to 4, na may equal. Meaning, ang kini 4, ato ni siya division. That means, apil siya sa solution. So, ang ato domain, automatic, is from 4 to infinity. Parenthesis na. However, since nakasugat man ta ani nun na shaded and 4, meaning apil ang 4 sa solution, instead of parenthesis, we will use bracket. What ang meaning sa bracket? Meaning na ang number, kining nga number is included sa solution. So, that is the domain of this function. Okay na ba? And we'll proceed sa example 6. Again, square root sa function. Now, for this example 5, ang ating consider is this right here, the expression inside the square root must be greater than or equal to 0. So, x squared plus 3x minus 28 is greater than or equal to 0. Excuse me po. Okay. So, for simpler pag-solve, ato i-factor out ni nga expression. So, kung sa may factor, pwede sa negative 28 na kung i-add, may 3. Negative 28. We can have 7 and 4. And then, pwede na negative 4. So, 7 times negative 4, negative 28. Kung i-add na nato, 3. So, pwede na siya. Factor. x plus 7, and x minus 4 greater than or equal to 0. Now, ato na ibutong diri sa ato niya. Kung sa may kuan, it's either any of these nga may mag 0. So, x plus 7 equals 0, and x minus 4 equals 0. Transpose because x is equal to negative 7 for restriction, then x is equals to 4. And if ato na i-plot sa number line, negative infinity, positive infinity, negative 7, and 4, since pwede man siya ma-0 lagi, so close circle lang sa negative 7 o 4. Close circle. Now, what we have to check is the values in between negative infinity to negative 7, 7 to 4, and 4 to infinity. First is values here in between. We can have negative 10. So if we input negative 10 in there, we can have negative 10 squared plus 3x minus 20. No, not 3x. 3 of negative 10 minus 28. So 100 plus, no, minus na, minus 30 minus 28. This is, 58. 100 minus 58, 42. Diba? Pwede guys, siya, positive siya inside sa square root. Meaning, ang values diri is pwede. Now, we have to check for values in between negative 7 and 4. For example, 0. So we plug in 0 in there. Let me delete that. So 0 squared is 0. 3 plus 0, 0. Mo habilin, negative 28. Negative. Dili ba pwede ma-negative ang sud sa square root. Meaning, x na siya. X na siya diha. And lastly is values from 4 to infinity. We can have 10. So if you input 10, 10, 10 squared. So 100 plus 30 minus 28 is 102. Okay kaya siya. Positive one. So, ang diri okay na siya. And then, is ato naman establish, ato na notate. So the domain is from, again, so it's the left side, negative infinity to 7, to negative 7. And since closed circle man, shaded circle, included ang 7 bracket. And then, the union of, since mo nilabot diri, jump ta diri 4 to infinity. And then, included man sa ng 4. So, bracket ato gamiton. And that is the domain of our function. Yeah. For the gets na yun. Sample 7. Pusita. Now, kini, unique na sa ni. Kay, ang ato function is rational function. And then, ang iya pagid ilaw is radical. Square root. Now, ang ato ikuan is sa square root. Square root lamang anay ta. Ang values, no, ang expression inside diha is dapat greater than or equal to 0. However, naman siya sa denominator in which dapat dili 0. So, ato na natanggalan niya kini na expression must be greater than 0 na lamang. So, we can solve that now. So, x plus 3 must be greater than 0. Transpose because x is greater than negative 3. that is our only restriction. So, if that is our only restriction, pwede na tadigin mag-on, mag number 9. Pero for visualization na lamang, ato lang yung number 9. Negative infinity, positive infinity, negative 3. So, since dili included ang negative 3, open circle na siya. Open circle. So, pwede na siya. And then, greater than negative 3 man daw. So, kini diri, check. Anything diri na less than negative 3, manay labot. So, automatic, we can notate now ang domain is negative 3 to infinity. And since open circle, dili labot ang negative 3, parenthesis. And that is our domain. Yeah, that's the domain. And then, see it as example 8, second to the last, na say unique na function. First, ang first yun nato i-consider is ang denominator na dapat dili may equal to 0. So, ito na ito dili, x squared minus 25 is equal to 0. And suppose x squared is equals to, or not equal to 25. So, x must not be equal to positive negative 5. Ano ito? First nga, first nga restriction. And then, ano sa tayo second restriction? Dili sa numerator. Kaya naka-square na siya in which dapat greater than or equal to 0 siya. So, have here x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. Let's suppose x is greater than or equal to 4. And that is our second restriction. Now, ato na siya plot sa number line. Hindi dito siya plot sa number line kay medyo libog na siya. Sige. Negative infinity, positive infinity. So, what's ito? Negative 5, 4, and 5. Now, since ang 5 ug negative 5 is dili included, open circle. And 4 kay x is greater than or equal to 4, meaning ang 4 is shaded and ang greater than niya. However, naka-indicate man dili nga dili pwede ang 5, meaning ana ang values ng dili to dili ang pwede. For the gets ba? And since dapat lagi greater than or equal to 4 lamang, diri is okay, diri is no. So, and then malagi dili daw labot ang 5. So ang values lamang na ato pwede ma-domain is 4 to 5, not including 5, and 5 beyond. So, the domain for that is 4 to 5, including 4, not including 5, and union 5 to infinity. That is our domain. For the gets. And then we have here the last example for the for finding the domain of functions. Kini kay wala na yung pinakakuyaw kay both numerator and denominator is square root. First, ato consider is denominator. So, ang x squared minus 16 must be greater than or equal to 0. But, denominator siya, so dapat dili ma-equal to 0. So, greater than 0 na lamang. And, ang i-solve, x squared minus 16 greater than 0, transpose, x squared is greater than 16, x squared is greater, x lamang ay is greater than positive negative 4 kung is 0 to 16, 4. Then, next thing you consider a numerator, kini siya, pwede na siya greater than or equal to 0. So, x plus 3 greater than or equal to 0 transpose x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So, ano na nga ito duha ka restriction. And then, let's plot that in the number line. Negative infinity, positive infinity, you have negative 4, negative 3, and 4. Now, ang inong diri is must be greater than 4, negative 4. So, open circle. Hindi man pwede ang equal to 4, greater than equal to negative 4, greater man daw. And the same with positive 4. Yeah. And then, ang gibutang diri, because sa sad is greater than or equal to 3. So, ang 3, ato na shade. Kaya na may equal na giningon. Kunya, greater than, so meaning, ang diri However, ang first na giingon diri kay x is must be greater than negative 4. So, x na yun na diha Kinidri ang apart, kay greater negative 4 man. Kunya, ang giingon naman sa diri sa pikas is x is greater than positive 4. Less than man siya sa positive 4. Meaning, ang kini nga values diri meaning ang kini nga values na less than 4, apil na ni ang 3, bisag shaded ang 3, is not part of the solution, automatic. So, ang solution lang yun nato is values greater than 4, beyond. So, why? Why no? Ato na siya i-check. Ang kini, maibong mo, na nung shaded ang 3, pero may labot, ato na siya i-check. Shaded ang 3. Ang 3 kay pwede siya nga solution diri sa numerator. X plus 3 x plus 3 di ay input na to ang negative 3. So, negative 3 plus 3 is equals to square root of 0. Okay. There is a square root of 0 man, 0. But if ato na input sa denominator, square root of negative 3 squared minus 16 is equals to 9. 9 man ang negative 3 squared. Minus 16 is equals to 11 7. 7, 9 minus 16, 7. Negative 7. Now, negative 7 man siya, negative, which is a 1. No. O nang ato negative 3, bisag pwede siya diri as a numerator, bawal man sa denominator. So, x na siya. Hindi na siya pwede. And then, x na sa ni diri since less than man siya sa negative 4, from diri na dapat greater than positive 4 man daw. So, ang ato solution set is kini lang na region diri in which kung ato na ay notate ato erison the domain for this function is 4 to infinity, not including 4. And that is the solution, or no, not solution. Solution. That is the domain for this function. And yeah, one ang last example sa domain. Sunod na to na i-tackle is ang range sa function, in which ako ikon sa next video. So yeah, mga to guys, bye-bye.